My son and daughter-in-law threw a lavish birthday party right in my living room, yet they banished me, the true owner of the house, to a basement storage room for 6 years. Hearing the laughter drifting down, I still sent up an expensive gift with a heartfelt card. The next morning, I stood frozen, finding it tossed into the kitchen trash, completely unopened. Amidst that bitter humiliation, my phone rang from the nursing home. "Come over alone, don't tell my son." I quietly closed my laptop, ready to expose the truth and reclaim what is mine. Thank you for being here with me today. Before we begin, drop a quick comment for me. Have you ever had to stand up to someone you trusted, yes or no? Your answer might help someone else feel less alone. Just a quick note. Some details are fictionalized to highlight the lesson. What matters most is the message it carries. The music from the party upstairs is loud enough that I can identify the song, Something About Dancing Till Dawn, but not loud enough that anyone dancing remembers I exist. My name is Vera Goodwin. I am 60 years old. I was a chief accountant at Mercer & Klein for 22 years before I retired early to care for my husband through his final illness. I have lived in this storage room for 6 years. The room is 11 feet by 9 feet. There's a single bed with a quilt my mother made in 1987, a yellow desk lamp, and a particle board dresser with 3 drawers that stick in humid weather. The walls are contractor white, but water stains have turned the corners gray-brown. My old chief accountant diploma hangs on the wall in a $12 pharmacy frame. I hung it myself years ago, a fading reminder of the career I gave up. The glass has condensation spots that never dry. The ceiling is low. When I stand on the bed to change the light bulb, my head nearly touches the heating duct. Right now, the duct is carrying laughter, the clink of glasses, and a woman's voice saying something about Italy. The party is in my living room. This storage room is in my house. I own this house. My late husband, Tobias, and I bought it in 1985. We painted every room ourselves. The deed is in my name now. It transferred when he died in 2018. 12 Maple Lane, West Hartford, Connecticut. I have not been upstairs in 6 years. 6 years ago, my son Dashiell and his wife Paloma moved in to help me after Tobias passed. 2 months later, they moved my belongings down here. They said the upstairs needed renovation. The renovation never happened. What happened instead was that I woke up one morning and realized I'd been living in my own basement for half a year, and no one had mentioned the renovation in months. Tonight is Paloma's 34th birthday. There were 22 people upstairs. I was not invited, but I know the count because I heard Dashiell on the phone yesterday confirming the catering order. 22 salmon skewers, 22 champagne flutes. I sent a gift anyway. A candle. Diptyque the kind in the heavy glass jar with the black oval label. $180. I had it wrapped in cream paper with a gray silk ribbon. I left it on the kitchen counter 3 days ago with a card. No one has mentioned it. The music gets louder. Someone is singing off-key. I sit on the bed and smooth the quilt. The stitching is coming loose near the corner. There is a soft knock on the door. "Grandma?" I open it. My granddaughter Thalia is 8 years old, small for her age, with dark hair and 2 braids, and her father's serious eyes. She's holding a mug of tea in both hands, careful not to spill. She is wearing a navy velvet dress I have never seen before and patent leather shoes. "Hi, sweetheart," I say. "I made you tea," she says. Mom said the kettle was already hot. She comes in and sets the mug on the dresser. Then she sits on the edge of the bed, legs swinging, not quite reaching the floor. She does not say anything else. She just sits there looking at the diploma on the wall. "You okay?" I ask. "Yeah." She picks at the hem of her dress. "Are you?" "I'm fine, sweetheart, just tired." "You shouldn't have sent that candle," she says quietly. There is something in her voice I do not recognize at first. Then I realize it is anger, the kind an 8-year-old does not yet know how to disguise. "Why not?" I ask. "Because they didn't invite you," she says, "and you sent it anyway." I sit down beside her. The bed frame creaks. I smell chlorine in her hair. She must have gone swimming this afternoon. Above us, someone is laughing very loudly. "Sometimes we give gifts even when people don't invite us," I say. "That's what family does." Thalia looks at me with those serious eyes. She is 8, but sometimes she looks much older. Okay, she says, but she does not sound convinced. She stays for another 3 minutes and then she stands, smooths her velvet dress, and leaves. She does not close the door all the way. The music pours in a little louder until I get up and push it shut. I sit back down. The tea is chamomile lukewarm, but I drink it anyway. Above me, the laughter continues. Someone drops something glass. There is a burst of apologies and more laughter. When did self-sufficient stop being a compliment and become a reason to give me less? I have been called self-sufficient my entire life. My mother said it when I was 12 and learned to hem my own skirts. My supervisor at Mercer and Klein said it when I worked late without asking for help. Tobias said it lovingly when I insisted on painting the nursery alone while 8 months pregnant. Self-sufficient, independent, low maintenance, undemanding. I have learned not to hear the music. I have learned not to count who was invited and who was not. I have learned to accept tea from an 8-year-old who should not have to carry her grandmother's loneliness like a secret. I have become very good at all of those things. The music stops. Someone is laughing. It sounds like my son. Tonight I do not want to be good at them anymore. I sit in the yellow lamplight and look at the diploma on the damp wall. I think about my husband Tobias, about the last thing he said to me before he died. He was in the hospice bed upstairs in what used to be our bedroom. Morphine made his words slow but deliberate. He took my hand and said, "I've arranged it. You'll know when you need it." I never understood what that meant. He died 2 hours later. In 6 years, I have turned that sentence over in my mind 10,000 times, and it has never made sense. But tonight, sitting in this storage room while 22 people drink champagne in my living room, I think I might be starting to understand. The next morning, understanding arrives in the kitchen trash can. I wake at 6:15, same as every morning for 38 years. The house is silent. Sunday mornings are quiet. Dashiell and Paloma sleep late after parties. I make coffee in the shared kitchen, the one upstairs that used to be mine when this was still my house in practice, and not just on paper. The trash can is beside the counter, white plastic with a swing lid. I am reaching for the coffee filters in the cabinet above it when I see the corner of something cream-colored beneath a layer of crumpled paper towels and a pizza coupon. I know that cream color. I picked it myself. I pull out the box. It is still wrapped in the paper I watched them fold at the store, still tied with the gray silk ribbon I chose, because Paloma once mentioned she liked gray. The card is underneath, tucked into the ribbon. The envelope is sealed. My handwriting is visible through the translucent paper. "With all my love, Mom." She did not open it, not the card, not the candle. She threw it away exactly as I left it on the counter 3 days ago, $180. Expedited shipping so it would arrive on time. A handwritten card on cream stationery that took me 20 minutes to compose because I wanted the words to be exactly right. I sit at the kitchen table. The clock above the stove says 6:32. I stare at the unopened package for 3 full minutes. The coffee maker beeps. I do not move. She threw away my love like a pizza coupon. I carry the box back down to the storage room. My hands are steady. That is the thing people do not tell you about humiliation. Sometimes it arrives so specifically, so perfectly calibrated that it bypasses rage entirely and lands in a different place. A colder place. A place where you can see clearly. I set the candle on my desk beside the yellow lamp. Then I open my laptop. I've been a chief accountant for 30 years. I know how to read a pattern. Every expense leaves a trace. Every dollar has a history. I open Excel muscle memory the same way I have opened it 10,000 times, to untangle someone else's finances, to find the discrepancy, to follow the thread until it leads to the truth. I create a new file. I name it household_audit_2024.2024.xlsx. Column A date. Column B source. Column C amount. Column D event. I start with what I know. June 2017. Paloma enrolled in the MBA program at UConn. Tuition was $68,000. Dashiell told me his company was covering it as a professional development benefit. I believed him. I type it into row 1. September 2019. They bought a new SUV. $62,000. Dashiell said he got a promotion. I believe that too. Row 2. March 2020, they renovated the kitchen upstairs. $43,000 for quartz countertops and custom cabinets. Dashiell said they had been saving. Row 3. I pause. My coffee has gone cold. I do not remember making it, but there it is beside the laptop untouched. I pick it up and drink it anyway. A $180 candle weighs nothing. A $180 candle in the trash weighs everything. I keep typing. Every expense I can remember. The summer trip to Italy in 2021, the new furniture in 2022, the private school tuition for Thalia that started last year. I do not have access to bank statements. I do not have receipts. But I have been paying attention for 6 years, even when I told myself I was not. The numbers will tell me what happened. Numbers do not play favorites. Tobias used to say that. He trusted math more than he trusted memory. I stop typing and look at the wedding photo on my bedside table. Tobias and I on the courthouse steps in 1985. Both of us so young, we look like different people. He is wearing a tie I picked out. I am wearing a dress my mother made. We are holding hands. I remember a conversation we had in the summer of 2013. We were in this kitchen. It was still ours, then still mine. He had just returned from a colleague's funeral. He was quiet through dinner. Then he told me about a probate case he had heard about at the service, a man who died without a clear will. The family fought for 2 years. By the end, no one was speaking. The estate was divided by strangers. Tobias said, "The law is the only thing that is impartial, but blood relations we do not know yet." I did not understand what he meant. I thought he was just tired grieving someone else's mess. Then in June 2014, 3 days before he died, he took my hand in the hospice bed. The morphine made his words slow, but his grip was still strong. He looked at me with those same eyes from the courthouse steps and said, I thought maybe he meant the house deed or the life insurance or some emotional truth about resilience. But this morning, staring at a spreadsheet with 3 rows filled and 40 more to go, I think I am starting to understand. If you have ever written "with love" on something that ended up in the garbage, you know the exact weight of this moment. You know the sound of a door closing that you did not even realize was still open. You know what it means to stop hoping and start calculating. I save the spreadsheet. I close the laptop. The unopened candle sits on my desk next to the wedding photo, a monument to the exact price of being forgotten. I pick up my phone. I scroll through my contacts until I find the name I am looking for, Norma Goodwin, my late mother-in-law. She is 92 years old and lives in a memory care facility 40 minutes from here. I've not called her in 8 months because the last time I visited Dashiell told me I was upsetting her with too many questions about the past. I need to know what Tobias arranged, and Norma is the only person left who might remember. I do not call Norma that night. I sit with my finger hovering over her name in my contacts for 5 full minutes, and then I close the phone. Whatever Tobias arranged, it has waited 10 years. It can wait until morning. But 21 days after the party, my phone rings at exactly 7:14 on a Wednesday evening, and the screen shows a name I have not seen in 8 months, Norma Goodwin, Maple Creek Nursing Home. I am eating cold soup at my desk. The spreadsheet is open on my laptop, 23 rows, filled now each one a memory I have turned into a dollar amount. I set down the spoon and answer on the second ring. Hello. No greeting, just 7 words delivered like an order. Come over alone, don't tell Dashiell. She's not a woman who calls without reason. Her silences are as deliberate as her words. The last time she called was Christmas 8 months ago to tell me she would not be well enough for visitors this year. Norma, I say. Are you all right? Is something wrong? I'm fine, she says. Her voice is steady, crisp, the same voice that used to correct Tobias's grammar at the dinner table. Come tomorrow before 9 a.m. Tomorrow morning I can... The box isn't well, she says. It's been waiting 10 years. Then she hangs up. I sit with the phone in my hand, staring at the screen. 10 years. Tobias died in June 2014. 10 years ago, this past summer. The box, she said. Not a box. The box. Spoken like she expects me to know which one. I try calling back. It rings 6 times and goes to the facility's main line. I hang up and try again. Same result. I look at the clock on my laptop, 7:17 p.m. Maple Creek is in Litchfield, 90 minutes north if the traffic is clear. I could go now, or I could leave at 5 tomorrow morning and arrive by 7. Norma said tomorrow, but Norma also said, the box isn't well, which is not something you say about an object unless it contains something that changes with time. And she said, don't tell Dashiell first before she said come tomorrow. That was the priority, the warning. I closed the laptop without saving the spreadsheet. I grabbed my coat from the hook by the door and my purse from the dresser. I do not pack anything. Norma did not say to bring anything. In fact, she made it very clear, come alone. I need to use the bathroom before a 2-hour drive. For the first time in 3 weeks, I go upstairs. The hallway is the same as it was 6 years ago when it was still mine to walk through freely. Same cream paint, same photographs on the wall. Thalia's school, pictures of beach sunset. From a vacation, I do not remember being invited to Paloma and Dashiell's wedding photo. I am in that photo standing at the edge in a blue dress, smiling because that is what you do at weddings. I hear the television in the living room. Paloma laughs at something. I use the bathroom, quickly wash my hands, and leave through the front door without announcing I am going. No one notices. What do you keep in a box for 10 years? And why does it stop being well after exactly a decade? I pull out of the driveway at 7:48 p.m. The neighborhood is quiet. Streetlights glow amber through the October darkness. I drive to the end of Maple Lane, turn left onto Route 4, and follow it north until it merges with Route 63. My hands stay at 10 and 2 on the wheel. I do not turn on the radio. The last time I visited Norma was 2 years ago before the storage room became permanent. She was already in the nursing home by then. Her memory sharp, but her body weakened by the stroke. We sat in her room and drank tea from paper cups. She asked me if I was happy. I said yes, because I did not know how to say no to a woman who had just buried her son. She looked at me for a long time. Then she said, Tobias was a good man, but he was a worrier. He worried about you most of all. I did not know what to say to that. I still do not. The road narrows as I leave the city limits. Maple trees blur past, still holding their autumn color even in the dark. I can see them in my headlights, gold and red and copper, the last brilliance before winter. My phone sits on the passenger seat, silent. I think about Tobias's mother keeping a box for 10 years, waiting, calling me the moment something changed, saying, don't tell Dashiell first before anything else, before even hello. I spent 21 days building a spreadsheet trying to reconstruct the shape of what I have lost. Norma has spent 10 years keeping a box. We have both been waiting, neither of us knowing the other was waiting too. The highway is empty. I pass 2 cars in 40 minutes. The dashboard clock says 8:31 as I cross into Litchfield County. My cell service drops for 3 minutes. No bars, just the searching icon spinning uselessly. Then it returns 1 bar weak but present. I think about what Norma said. The box isn't well. Not broken, not lost, not missing. Isn't well like it has been sick, like it has been waiting for a cure that only time or circumstance could provide. Tobias told his mother something he did not tell me. That much is clear now. He arranged something and he told her where it was, and she has been the keeper of it for a decade. If you have ever driven toward an answer you are not sure you want, you know, the exact speed I was going 5 miles under the limit, wishing it were slower. I pull into the Maple Creek nursing home parking lot at 9:05 p.m. Visiting hours ended at 9, but the front entrance is still lit. Through the glass doors I can see the reception desk empty. I turn off the engine. My hands are steady on the wheel. My phone buzzes. A text message from Norma. The first text she has ever sent me in her life. 3 words, side door 116. I look up. Through the darkness, I can see a side entrance with a light above it, and in the window of a ground floor room, a lamp is on. Someone is watching for my headlights. She's been waiting for me. The side door is unlocked. Room 116 is at the end of a hallway that smells like industrial cleaner and overcooked vegetables. I knock once. Norma says, "Come in." She is sitting at a small table by the window, still dressed even though it is past 9. 2 cups of tea are already poured. Between them sits a wooden box. I close the door. I do not sit yet. I just look at it. Cedar old wood, dark with age brass corners, tarnished green. Engraved across the top in letters, I have to lean forward to read, "For Margaret, when she is ready." Margaret, my middle name. No one has called me that since my mother died. Tobias used to say it when he was being formal or affectionate or both. "Sit," Norma says. I sit. The tea is chamomile. I do not drink it. "Before you open it," she says, "I need to say 2 things. Her voice is steady, rehearsed. "Your grandfather kept this box in his bedroom closet for 15 years. 4 days before he died, he gave it to me with instructions to give it to you only when I was certain you were ready." She pauses. Her eyes are Tobias's eyes, pale gray. "I saw the pictures from Paloma's party 3 weeks ago. A friend at church follows her on Instagram. 22 people in your backyard. You were not in any of the photos." Her hands fold on the table. "I should have given this to you a long time ago," she says quietly. She pushes the box toward me. I lift the lid. Inside, a yellowed envelope sealed with wax. A small brass key on a chain. A document folded in thirds blue, notary seal visible. I take out the document first. Always read the official paperwork before the personal. I unfold it and read the header aloud. "First codicil to the last will and testament of Tobias J. Goodwin, dated March 17, 2014. March 2014, 3 months before he died. I, Tobias J. Goodwin of sound mind and body, do hereby revoke all prior provisions regarding the real property located at 12 Maple Lane, West Hartford, Connecticut, and the retirement fund identified as account 4711-A. Said property and account, valued at approximately $185,000, shall pass directly to my wife, Vera Margaret Goodwin, free of any claim or control by my son, Dashiell Thomas Goodwin." I stop. Read the last sentence again. "Free of any claim or control." At the bottom, Tobias's signature. Witnesses Norma Goodwin and Conrad Bailey. Notary seal from Litchfield County. I set it down carefully. "Norma," I say. "Why was this never filed?" "Because Tobias gave Dashiell 10 years to prove himself," she says. "If your son treated you well, I was to burn this. If not, you're holding it. How long does love last after death long enough to plan a rescue 10 years in advance?" I pick up the envelope. The wax seal has his initials, TJG. I break it with my thumbnail. 3 pages inside, blue ink on cream stationery. I read aloud because if I do not, I will not finish. "Vera, if you are reading this, my mother has decided you are ready, which means a great deal of time has passed and something has gone wrong." My voice catches. I continue. "I am writing this in the hospice bed while you are downstairs making tea. I have thought about telling you in person, but I will not. I do not want you to carry this knowledge while I am dying." I turn the page. The handwriting wavers here. "I have loved you since I was 23 years old. I have been proud of you every single day. But our son does not see you the way I do. He loves you the way he knows how, which is less than you deserve." I stop. Look at Norma. She is looking at her hands. "I have watched him take you for granted since he was 16. I told myself it was normal sons grow up, sons leave. But it is not normal to forget the person who raised you. It is not kindness. It is a story he tells himself so he does not have to feel guilty." The paper shakes in my hands. I am not writing this to hurt him. I am writing this to protect you. The house is yours. The retirement fund is yours. If he has treated you well, my mother will destroy this letter. If you are reading it, then I was right to worry. If you have ever heard someone who loved you explain why they had to save you from your own family, you know why I had to set the letter down and close my eyes before I could continue. I pick it up again. Final paragraph. "You never need anyone to remind you who you are. You are the best I have ever known. I just prepared the path. You walk it yourself. All my love always. Tobias." I fold the letter carefully. I look at Norma. She looks back at me. Neither of us says anything for 2 full minutes. The clock on her wall ticks. Then I ask, "What does this key open?" Norma pours more tea into both cups, slow and deliberate. "Safe deposit box. 0731. She says, First National Bank, Asylum Street Branch, downtown Hartford. Conrad Bailey is waiting for you there at 2 p.m. this afternoon. He's been the executor of this arrangement for 10 years. He will explain the rest. I leave Norma's room at 9:47 p.m. and drive home in silence. The codicil is in my purse on the passenger seat. The brass key is on its chain around my neck, cold against my skin. By the time I pull into the driveway at 12 Maple Lane, everyone upstairs is asleep. I do not turn on any lights except the yellow desk lamp in the storage room. I open my laptop at 11:03 p.m. with the codicil spread on my desk beside the keyboard. 3 pages of legal proof that everything I'm about to document was mine to begin with. The Excel file is still there from 3 weeks ago, 23 rows filled with my best guesses and fragmented memories. Now I have the codicil. Now I have dates. Now I have the starting balance account 4711-A, $185,000, March 2014. I delete all 23 rows and start over. Column A, date. Column B, source. Column C, amount. Column D, purpose. Column E, balance. Row 1, September 2017. Wire transfer to Yukon Bursar's office. $68,000. Paloma's MBA tuition. Balance $117,000. I remember the day Paloma got accepted. Dashiell opened champagne at dinner. Paloma said this degree would change their lives. I asked if his company was covering the cost. He said yes, professional development benefit. I believed him. Row 2, December 2019. Wire transfer to Toyota Financial Services. $62,000. New white SUV. Balance $55,000. I remember watching them drive it home. Paloma said it was a Christmas gift to herself. I was living in the storage room by then. I had been there a year. Row 3, March 2020. Multiple vendors. $43,000. Kitchen renovation quartz countertops. Custom cabinets. Professional grade range I am never allowed to use. Balance $12,000. I remember the contractors walking through my living room for 6 weeks, tracking sawdust, asking where the bathroom was. I directed them upstairs because I only had access to the half bath by the storage room. By row 15, I am at $167,000. My hands do not shake. Every number has a source. Every source has a date. Every date I can verify. Numbers are the only witnesses that never forget and never lie, which is why accountants make dangerous enemies. Row 16, June 2021. American Express, $8,400. Italy vacation 2 weeks, Rome and Florence. I saw the photos on Paloma's Instagram. Balance $3,600. Row 17, September 2022. Multiple vendors, $11,000. Wedding anniversary party catered dinner for 40 guests in the backyard. I watched from the storage room window. Balance negative $7,400. Negative. The account went negative. I stare at that number. They did not just spend my retirement fund. They spent past it. They took more than Tobias left me. I keep typing. Rows 18 through 36 are smaller. Monthly withdrawals labeled household expenses from 2015 through 2024. Groceries, utilities, repairs that never happened to the storage room I live in. Some months $500, some months $1,200. Over 9 years, they total $36,500, which means the overdraft was covered by something else. I make a note in column F, query source of overdraft coverage. There is a soft knock at 12:04 a.m. Mom, Talia says. I look up. She's in pajamas, pink flannel with white stars holding a cup of tea. She sees the codicil on the desk. She sees my face in the laptop glow. She does not ask what I am doing. She knows. She sets the tea on the desk carefully away from the papers. Then she sits on the edge of the bed without speaking. Her legs swing, not quite reaching the floor. The same way they did 3 weeks ago when she brought me tea during Paloma's party. I'm working, sweetheart, I say. I know, she says. She stays. I type rows, 23 through 29. She watches the ceiling, not the screen. At 12:24 a.m., she stands, smooths her pajamas, walks over, and kisses the top of my head. She squeezes my shoulder. Then she leaves without saying anything else. I drink the tea while it is still warm. It is the only break I will take until I finish. By 2:30 a.m., I have 36 rows filled. I add row 37. Row 37 total. I write a formula in column C. The cursor blinks. I press enter. $185,000.00. Column E, final balance negative $7,400. But the original account 4711-A that Tobias left me held exactly $185,000. They drained it completely and then borrowed more. I sit back, read it top to bottom, once slowly checking every number. Row 1, Paloma's MBA, the degree she used to explain why she deserved to manage my house. Row 2, Paloma's car, the one she drives past me in the driveway without waving. Row 3, Paloma's kitchen, the one I am not allowed to cook in. Every major milestone in her adult life built with money Tobias left to keep me secure, while I lived in a storage room in my own house. If you have ever stayed up until 3 a.m. building the case that will change your life, you know the feeling, not tired, not angry, just clear. I save the file as household_audit_2014_final.xlsx. I back it up to the USB drive. Norma gave me small silver with a keychain that says Tobias's Tools in faded letters, his work drive from when he was an engineer. She has kept it for 10 years. The tea Thalia brought is cold now. I drink it anyway. 37 rows, $185,000, 10 years, zero balance. Tobias left me this money to be secure. Dashiell took it to make his wife comfortable. The codicil proves what should have been mine. The spreadsheet proves what was taken. Tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m., Conrad Bailey will show me what else Tobias left in safe deposit box 0731. But tonight, I have built the foundation of my case entirely on my own. The numbers do not lie. They never do. I finished the spreadsheet at 2:47 a.m. on a Friday. By Saturday afternoon, I was sitting in Norma's room again, asking her to tell me everything she remembered about the day Tobias signed the codicil. 3 weeks after Norma gave me the cedar box, she told me about March 17, 2014. The afternoon my husband sat in Hartford Hospital Room 312, dying of cancer he had hidden from me for 2 months, and signed the document that would save me 10 years later. He was 62 years old, 50 pounds lighter than our wedding photo, but his eyes were still sharp even with the morphine. Norma said he looked like himself, just burning down to the essential parts. Conrad Bailey arrived at 2:30 p.m. He was 57, then an estate attorney and Tobias's former colleague from their engineering firm. He brought the codicil in a leather folder, 3 pages typed on heavy paper notary stamp, ready witness lines blank. Norma was in the cafeteria getting coffee when Conrad arrived. She came back 20 minutes later with 2 cups of something that smelled like burnt toast and tasted worse. She saw the papers spread across Tobias's lap and understood immediately. Tobias looked at them both and said, "I need witnesses who will tell the truth in 10 years. Not next week, not next month. In 10 years when it matters." Conrad set down his briefcase. "Tobias, are you certain about this?" "I'm giving my son a test he doesn't know he's taking," Tobias said. His voice was weak but deliberate. "And I'm giving my wife a weapon she doesn't know she might need." They sat on either side of his hospital bed. The room smelled like antiseptic, and the flowers I had brought that morning, tulips his favorite, already wilting in the dry heat. Tobias signed first, his hand shaking, but his signature clear. Then Conrad. Then Norma. The notary was from the hospital chaplain's office, a woman in her 30s who notarized documents for patients who could not leave their beds. She stamped all 3 copies, filed one with the hospital records department, gave one to Conrad, and left one with Tobias. 3 copies, Tobias said after she left. One for the safe deposit box, one for Conrad's files, one for my mother to keep until she decides. Decides what? Norma asked. When Vera is ready, Tobias said. Not before. Then he explained. What does it cost a father to bet against his own son everything? What does it cost him not to his wife's future? I'm giving Dashiell 10 years to prove he can love his mother without me here to watch, Tobias said. If he does, Conrad, you burn this and we never speak of it. Vera never knows I doubted him. He paused to breathe. The monitor beside his bed beeped steadily. Outside the window, March snow was falling. If he doesn't, Tobias continued, if he treats her the way I fear he will, then this codicil becomes her weapon. The house, the retirement account, all of it goes to Vera directly, free of any claim or control by Dashiell. Conrad leaned forward. You're hoping Vera never needs this. I'm praying she doesn't, Tobias said. But I'm an engineer. I prepare for what the evidence suggests, not what I wish were true. What evidence? Norma asked. Tobias looked at his mother. I've watched Dashiell change since Paloma arrived. Not all at once, just small things. The way he talks about Vera when she's not in the room. Mom doesn't need much. Mom's fine on her own. Mom understands. He's building a story that makes it easy to forget her. He shifted in the bed, wincing. It's not cruelty, he said. It's convenience. He's convinced himself that Vera is self-sufficient, which means he doesn't have to think about whether she's lonely or needs help or deserves better. And Paloma sees Vera as an obligation, not a person. Tobias, Conrad said carefully, this is a serious accusation. It's not an accusation, Tobias said. It's a hypothesis. I'm giving Dashiell 10 years to prove me wrong. If he does, I'm still a good father. If not, I'm still a good husband. Norma started crying then, the first time Tobias had seen her cry since his father's funeral 8 years earlier. Don't cry, Mom, he said. This is insurance. I hope Margaret never needs to use it. Margaret, my middle name. He always used it when he was being formal or when he meant something important. Put the original in the safe deposit box at First National ID, Tobias told Conrad. Pay the annual fee from the estate account. Give Mom the key and list Vera as the authorized person. If Dashiell does well by her, you and Mom meet for coffee in 2024, burn every copy, and never tell Vera I questioned her son. Conrad made notes on a yellow legal pad. His handwriting was precise, architectural. And if he doesn't do well by her, Conrad asked, then Mom will know when to give Vera the box. Tobias said. Not too soon, Vera would try to refuse it, try to protect Dashiell from his own choices. But when she's ready, when she's angry enough and clear-headed enough to use it. He looked out the hospital window at the snow falling on the parking lot. I would rather be wrong about my son than right for my wife, he said. Norma repeated that line to me twice when she told me the story 3 weeks ago in her nursing home room. She said it like saying it again might make Tobias's choice make sense, like repetition could soften the weight of it. The monitor beeped. A nurse came in to check Tobias's vitals. He sent Conrad and Norma away with the signed documents. He had 3 months left to live. He spent that afternoon hoping he had wasted it. But he hadn't. Norma finished telling me this story with the cedar box still between us on her table. She said, Your husband hoped he was wrong about Dashiell. He prepared for 10 years, praying he'd wasted his time. She looked at me with wet eyes. He wasn't wrong, she said. I'm sorry he wasn't wrong. And I understood why the box had waited until now, because hope dies slower than people do. Tobias hoped he was wrong. He prepared for the possibility, but he hoped. I did not learn what happened next until 10 years later, when my neighbor Sybil Yates, a forensic accountant who lives 3 doors down and notices things other people miss, handed me a manila envelope full of photographs she'd been keeping since 2014. July 15, 2014. 1 month after the funeral, 9:47 a.m., my son opens his father's filing cabinet with the key the lawyer gave him, pulls out 3 stapled pages labeled Draft, Last Will and Testament, reads them in the morning light coming through the living room window at 12 Maple Lane, and decides to burn them before I come home from church. The draft will is unsigned. Tobias left it that way on purpose. It says everything goes to me, the house, the retirement account, all of it with Dashiell named as executor. It looks official. It has the law firm's letterhead. But it has no signatures, no witnesses, no notary seal. Dashiell does not know this is a decoy. He does not know the real codicil is already filed in a safe deposit box with his grandmother's name on the access list and his mother's name as the beneficiary. He just knows what he is reading means his mother controls everything. He crumples the pages, throws them in the fireplace, lights them with kitchen matches from the drawer by the stove, watches them burn. The paper curls and blackens. The smoke smells like defeat or opportunity depending on who is standing there. He checks the clock, 10:15 a.m. I am at Sunday service until 11:30. He has time. He gets his keys, drives to the UPS store on Farmington Avenue. Thomas Carlyle, the notary on duty, charges $2 per signature. Dashiell has printed a document at home titled Waiver of Inheritance Rights. My signature is on it. I have never seen this document. I will not see it for 10 years. Thomas Carlyle does not check identification. He just stamps it. 10:52 a.m. Dashiell drives to the county clerk, files a small estate affidavit. The house transfers into his name by 11:38 a.m. I return from church at 11:42 a.m. I find Dashiell in the kitchen making coffee. He asks if I want lunch. 45 minutes. That's how long it takes to steal a house if you know your mother won't check. He spent 45 minutes stealing a house from his mother. I spent those 45 minutes praying for his soul. When Sybil showed me the photographs she took that morning, she was at the UPS store, mailing a package, and saw Dashiell at the notary counter. Thought it was strange, took photos because strange things in small towns are worth documenting. I sat in her kitchen and stared at the date stamp, July 15th, 2014, 10:52 a.m. I was in the third pew at First Presbyterian singing Amazing Grace when my son was forging my signature 4 blocks away. But I did not know any of that in 2014. I did not know in 2015 or 2016 or 2017. I just lived in the house that was no longer mine and thought I was being gracious by not asking too many questions. I have a transcript of forgottens. I just had not read it back to myself in order yet. October 2018, my 60th birthday. Dashiell promises to bring leftover birthday bread from Costco. Never arrives. I eat canned soup alone in the storage room, sitting on the bed because there is no table, and tell myself he forgot because he is busy. March 2020, Paloma's business opening party. 40 guests, champagne fountain, catered appetizers. I spend 3 hours in the kitchen washing dishes while the party continues in my backyard. Paloma thanks me afterward by saying, I am a lifesaver. I smile and say it was no trouble. June 2022. Thalia's second grade school play. I drove myself 90 minutes to be there. I sat alone in a folding chair in the auditorium, taking photos on my phone of my granddaughter. Dashiell texted at 8:47 p.m. Sorry we couldn't make it. Paloma had a marketing launch. I texted back, no problem, I took videos for her. Each time I told myself they are busy. They are building a future. I am self-sufficient. That moment, seeing my 8-year-old granddaughter try to straighten my old accountant diploma on that moldy wall with her tiny hands saying, Grandma deserves a better wall than this, that was when my love for my son irrevocably split. That was the moment I chose to fight. The paint is peeling near the baseboard. There is a smell, mildew, dampness, the smell of rooms that are not meant to be lived in. Sweetheart, I say. You don't have to put it on this wall. I want to, she says. You came to my school play when nobody else did. I want my drawing to be near you. She brought a little roll of tape she must have taken from her mother's desk. She carefully pressed the corners of her drawing onto the drywall right below my old diploma. The paper fluttered slightly against the damp concrete. She stepped back, looked at the drawing, and then looked at me. Grandma deserves a better wall than this, she said quietly. I had to turn away so she would not see me cry. That was the moment, not the candle in the trash, not the spreadsheet, not even Tobias's letter. That moment with my granddaughter's drawing taped to a moldy wall was when my love for my son's choices irrevocably split. Not the spreadsheet, not even Tobias's letter. That moment with my daughter's diploma hanging crooked on a moldy wall was when my love for my children irrevocably split into 2 categories, one worth saving, one worth stopping. That diploma hung on that wall for 9 months, Every time I looked at it, I thought my daughter believes this is what I deserve. Not because she thinks little of me, because this is what I have accepted. The day I opened the cedar box in Norma's nursing home, the first thing I decided was that Thalia would hang that diploma on a different wall. A better one. The living room wall. In the house that was legally mine. That decision that Thalia would hang her diploma on a better wall became the line I would not allow anyone to cross again. Not Dashiell, not Paloma, not even myself, by continuing to accept what they decided I deserved. The sound of a backhoe starting up at 7:03 on a Sunday morning in November wakes me from the first full night of sleep I have had since I opened the cedar box a week ago. And I know before I reach the storage room window that something of my husband's is about to be destroyed. I pull back the curtain. The backyard is full of machinery. A yellow backhoe idles near the fence. 2 men in work gloves stand beside a truck with Morrison Landscaping Avon CT painted on the side. And Paloma in pink yoga outfit and white sneakers, coffee cup in one hand, gestures with the other toward Tobias's memorial garden. The apple tree he planted in 1985, the summer Dashiell was born. The stone bench he bought for our 30th anniversary with the engraving we chose together. T&V 1985 to 2015 still growing. The raised beds he built by hand cedar planks he sanded smooth so I would not get splinters when I gardened. Paloma points to the apple tree. One of the men, Gary Morrison, I will learn later when I zoom in on the truck's license plate, hesitates. He asks her something. I cannot hear through the glass, but I can read his body language. This tree is old. This tree is healthy. Are you sure? Paloma makes an annoyed gesture, waves her hand like swatting a fly. Gary picks up a chainsaw. The engine roars to life. He positions the blade against the trunk. I could go outside, I could knock on the window, I could stop this. But I do not, because stopping it will not give me my house back. Recording it might. I pick up my phone from the desk, open the camera, switch to video, press record. The chainsaw bites into the trunk. Sawdust sprays across the grass. The blade goes deeper. The tree that Tobias planted when our son was born that survived 39 Connecticut winters, ice storms and droughts, and the year lightning struck the fence 10 feet away, that tree shudders. I record Paloma's full face as she watches sipping her coffee. I record Gary's truck with the company name and license plate visible. I record the timestamp 7:18 a.m. November 3, 2024. I narrate quietly into the phone's microphone accounting habit, documenting what the camera shows. Date November 3, 2024, time 7:18 a.m., location 12. Maple Lane, West Hartford. Unauthorized demolition of memorial garden on private property. The woman in the pink yoga outfit is my daughter-in-law Paloma Goodwin. This is my property. She did not ask permission. The tree falls at 7:34 a.m., 16 minutes from first cut to final crash. The sound is like thunder, like something breaking that cannot be repaired. Grief is a luxury you can afford after you have reclaimed what was stolen before, that it is just noise that drowns out the sound of evidence being collected. I keep recording. The stone bench goes next. Gary and the other man load it into the truck bed. The engraving faces up, T&V 1985 to 2015 still growing. $1,800 that bench cost. Tobias saved for 6 months. We chose it together from a catalog argued gently about whether to include the date range or just our initials. He wanted the dates. He said it would remind us how long we had been growing together. The raised beds are dismantled by 8:03 a.m., cedar planks thrown into a pile. The perennials Tobias planted black-eyed Susan's coneflowers, the rose bush from our 25th anniversary, ripped out and tossed into a wheelbarrow like weeds. Paloma is on her phone now, probably posting to Instagram about her home renovation journey. She takes a selfie with the destruction behind her smiling. I take 37 still photographs, different angles, close-ups of the stump, wide shots showing the entire backyard, Gary's face, the truck's DOT number, Paloma's yoga outfit pink with white stripes, the kind that costs $120 at Lululemon. I create a new folder on my phone, evidence_November_2024. Save everything. Back it up to cloud storage. Set it to sync automatically. 39 years to grow, 60 minutes to destroy. The crew leaves at 8:27 a.m. Truck pulls away. Paloma goes back inside through the kitchen door, coffee cup, empty phone still in her hand. The backyard is mud and stumps. I sit at my desk. Open the laptop. Open household_audit_2014_2024.xlsx. I add column F property damage. Row 38. The first new row since I finished the original 37 3 weeks ago. Date November 3rd, 2024. Description: unauthorized demolition of Memorial Garden, planted 1985. Estimated value $8,500. Itemized mature apple tree, $3,200. Engraved stone. Bench $1,800. Raised beds and mature plantings, $3,500. Evidence video/photos. Evidence_November_2024 folder. I could call the police. Report trespassing, vandalism, destruction of property. I own this house legally according to the codicil in the cedar box. Paloma had no right to order this work, but calling the police would alert Dashiell that I am watching, that I am keeping records, that I know things I am not supposed to know. If you have ever watched something you love be destroyed and chosen to film it instead of stopping it because the video will matter more in court than the tree ever, could you understand why I am very good at my profession. I am not ready for Dashiell to know I am watching. I save the file. Look out the window at the empty backyard. The apple tree that survived 39 Connecticut winters could not survive Paloma wanting more outdoor entertaining space. I open my notes app, type, next retrieve full documents from Conrad Bailey's safe deposit box 0731. The spreadsheet now has 38 rows. The evidence folder has 14 videos and 37 photos. The apple tree is gone. But I have everything I need to prove it was destroyed without permission on property that legally belongs to me. I close the laptop. I no longer hesitate. I do not have to wait long to retrieve what I need. At 2:47 p.m. on the same Sunday, the apple tree died. My neighbor, Sybil Yates, knocks on the exterior storage room door, the one that opens to the side yard, not the house, carrying a manila folder thick enough that she needs both hands, and before I can ask why she is here, she says, "I've been waiting 6 years for you to be ready to see this." Sybil Yates is 54 years old, a forensic accountant who retired early from a firm in Hartford and lives 3 doors down in the blue colonial with the white shutters. I have known her for 34 years. We wave when we see each other. We do not have coffee. We do not talk beyond pleasantries about weather and gardens. Or so I thought. "Come next door," she says. "You need to sit down for this." Her kitchen smells like cinnamon and old books. She pours tea neither of us will drink and sets the manila folder on the table between us. The label is written in her neat handwriting, 12 Maple Lane, documentation 2014 to 2024. She opens it. The first page is a photograph, Dashiell exiting the UPS store on Farmington Avenue. The timestamp in the corner reads July 15, 2014, 10:52 a.m. The angle suggests it was taken from inside the store through the window. "I was getting passport photos that morning," Sybil says, "for a cruise I never took. I saw your son. I knew something was wrong when he left that fast." The second page is a photocopy, Thomas Carlyle's notary log. Line 7, signature witness, inheritance waiver, fee $2, client signature. My name in handwriting that is close but not quite right. No ID verification noted. The third page is a county clerk land transfer document, filed 11:38 a.m., July 15, 2014. Property at 12 Maple Lane transferred from Vera M. Goodwin to Dashiell T. Goodwin, effective immediately. "You were at church that morning," Sybil says. "I checked. St. Mark's Bulletin listed Sunday service 9:30 to 11:30. Your son filed these documents while you were singing hymns." I cannot speak. I just turn pages. Photographs of the county clerk's office. Dashiell's car in the parking lot, license plate visible. Timestamp 11:22 a.m. I've been your neighbor for 34 years, Sybil says. I've watched that house longer than anyone except you. Why didn't you tell me, I ask. 6 years, Sybil. Why didn't you? Because you weren't ready to hear it, she says. And because evidence weights better than advice. She turns to the middle of the folder, an enlarged photocopy of the $2 receipt. Below it, her handwritten timeline. VG at St. Mark's Church, 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. per church bulletin. DG at UPS, 10:52 a.m. County Clerk, 11:38 a.m. VG Home, 11:42 a.m. observed. I hold the receipt copy. The paper is smooth, expensive. She has laminated it. $2, she says quietly. That's what your house cost your son, less than a latte. $2. The notary charged $2. Tobias and I bought that house in 1985 for $73,000, 7 years of his salary at the engineering firm, 5 years of mine from the accounting job. We painted every room ourselves. We planted the apple tree the summer Dashiell was born. My son transferred it for the price of a coffee. I made 6 copies the day I got this from the county records request in 2018, Sybil says. Kept them in 6 different places. 1 in my safe deposit box at First National, 1 in my attorney's safe, 1 in a storage unit in Waterbury rented under my maiden name. She shows me a photograph of a $2 bill crisp and new in a plastic sleeve. I saved this from my wallet that day, she says, as an evidence placeholder. I know it's absurd, but I wanted something physical that represented what he paid. It is absurd. It also somehow matters. Why Sybil? I ask again. Why go to all this trouble? She turns to the final section of the folder, a surveillance log, dates, times, observations, photographs of the moving van that took my furniture to the storage room in September 2018. Photographs of Paloma's parties, with guest counts written in the margins, 22, 18, 31, 26. Photographs of Dashiell's car at the house frequency analysis noted, present daily 2014 to 2016, weekly 2017 to 2019, monthly 2020 to present. Copies of property tax bills showing Dashiell as owner. Copies of utility bills in his name. Copies of building permits for the kitchen renovation signed by Paloma Goodwin, authorized homeowner. I've been the gossipy neighbor for 6 years, Sybil says. Chatting with Paloma at her parties, exclaiming over her renovations, asking intrusive questions about where they got their countertops and how much the SUV cost, and wasn't that garden renovation expensive? She told me everything because she thought I was harmless. I stare at her. You've been playing a role for 6 years. Harmless old ladies see everything and get blamed for nothing, she says with a slight smile. It's the perfect disguise. If you have ever discovered that the person you thought was just nosy was actually keeping evidence of your stolen life in a manila folder for a decade, you know the strange gratitude that tastes like vindication and shame mixed together. I was friends with Tobias, Sybil says. We had coffee every Sunday for 20 years. Did you know that he'd come over after his morning run before you woke up? We'd sit in this kitchen and talk about engineering problems, accounting puzzles, his garden plans, his worries. I did not know that. When he died and I saw what Dashiell did that July morning, she continues. I started keeping files. Tobias would have wanted someone to notice, someone to remember, someone to document. Tobias would have loved this, I say. My voice breaks on his name. He did love it, Sybil says. He's the one who taught me how to keep evidence that holds up in court. At the bottom of the folder, beneath all the photographs and receipts and timeline notes, is a notarized document dated October 28th, 2024. Last week, the day after I saw Norma. It is titled, Witness Affidavit Sybil R. Yates. 2 pages signed before a notary public attesting to everything she observed on July 15th, 2014. Every detail, every timestamp, every photograph explained and authenticated. You printed this last week, I say. Sybil pours more tea we still will not drink. I've been watching you for 6 years. I know what ready looks like. I had the affidavit printed before you knew you'd need it. When someone tells you they saw you were ready before you knew it yourself, you start wondering who else has been watching, who else has been waiting, Who else has been preparing for this moment while you thought you were alone? 3 days after Sybil hands me 10 years of documentation, I sit across from Conrad Bailey in his brownstone office on Trumbull Street and watch him open a file so thick it could be 2 dictionaries stacked together. And before I can ask what's inside, he says, "I've been preparing this case since June 2014, the week Tobias died. I've just been waiting for you to call." Conrad Bailey is 67 years old and a state attorney with silver hair and reading glasses on a chain. His office smells like leather and old paper, and the November rain falling against the windows. The bookshelves are floor-to-ceiling law volumes organized by year and jurisdiction. Everything in this room is precise, deliberate, measured. He opens the file. The label reads, "Goodwin Estate Matter, Confidential." Inside, the original codicil photocopy signed and notarized. Witness depositions from 2015 Conrad's own statement and Norma's, both notarized, both detailed, both explaining what Tobias intended and why. Case law on Connecticut probate fraud, each case summarized with sticky notes marking relevant precedents. A draft petition for Hartford Probate Court dated 2015, but with annual updates, visible 2016, 2017, 2018, all the way through October 2024. Your husband paid me a retainer in 2014 to prepare this case for 10 years, Conrad says. $20,000, enough to cover filing fees, research expert consultations, and my time. He believed in evidence, not emotion. He gave Daschle a decade to prove himself. He turns pages. Forensic accountant contact Sybil Yates standing retainer paid through 2024 by Tobias's estate. Private investigator reports on Daschle's finances from 2015 through 2023. Property records, vehicle registrations, credit reports pulled annually under legal authority. The decade ended, Conrad says quietly. The file includes a timeline of every Connecticut probate fraud case from 2000 to 2024. Precedents, win rates, settlement amounts, judge preferences, court schedules. Conrad has been studying for this specific lawsuit for 3,650 days. Tobias paid you a retainer 10 years ago, I ask, to prepare for a case that might never happen. Not might never, Conrad corrects. Might not need to. He hoped Daschle would pass the test. He prepared for Daschle to fail it. There's a difference. My husband left me a lawyer who's been studying for a decade, I say. He left you a plan, Conrad says. I'm just the executor. A lawyer who prepares for 10 years is not billing hours. He's building a fortress one brick at a time, and the client who paid for it is dead. But the fortress still stands. Conrad pulls a specific page from the middle of the file. Connecticut General Statutes, Section 52-577. He points to paragraph 3. Fraud has a 3-year statute of limitations from date of discovery, not date of occurrence, he says. Discovery date October 27, 2024, when Norma gave you the cedar box. Deadline October 27, 2027. He sets down the statute book. But, he continues, Daschle doesn't know the clock started last month. The longer we wait, the more time he has to hide assets, transfer property, complicate things. We have 3 years legally. We have weeks strategically. He shows me a chart of optimal filing windows, case studies of fraud petitions filed at different intervals after discovery, success rates, settlement amounts, asset recovery percentages. Strike while he's confident, Conrad says. Confident people are careless. They don't check records. They don't hire attorneys preemptively. They don't think anyone is watching. He explains sealed petitions. Daschle won't know the lawsuit exists until he's served. The court date will be set before he can respond. No warning. No time to move money or sell property or prepare a defense. Conrad has judge availability mapped through March 2025. December slots are open. January is booked. February has limited options. When do you want to do this? He asks. When is he most vulnerable? I ask. When is he least expecting this? When he thinks he's won something else, Conrad says. I think about what I know that Conrad doesn't. Information I've gathered in 5 weeks of careful watching, careful listening, careful documentation. Last week, I say, I overheard Paloma on the phone in the kitchen. I was in the storage room, but the heating vent carries sound. She was talking to her mother about Saturday, December 14th, dinner at our house, my house with her parents, to finalize the land sale. Conrad's pen stops moving. Land sale. The 3 acres behind 12 Maple Lane. I say, Dashiell is selling it to Paloma's parents for their retirement home. $285,000. The papers are being prepared. The meeting is set. Conrad's face changes, not shock calculation. He's selling land that legally belongs to you per the codicil, he says, to fund their lifestyle, while you live in a storage room. I want to do it that day, I say. December 14th. I want to walk into that dining room while they're celebrating selling my land and show them the documents that prove it was never theirs to sell. Conrad studies his calendar, makes notes in margins, calculates backwards from December 14th. Sealed petition filed November 19th, he says. Court reviews December 9th. Certified mail delivery December 13th. You show up December 14th before any papers are signed. He looks up at me. Timeline is tight but possible. That's exactly the timing we need, I say. Before the land sale, before the celebration, before they think they've won. If you have ever chosen the exact date of a confrontation, based not on when you're ready, but on when your opponent will be most surprised, you understand why. December 14th was not arbitrary, it was surgical. Conrad pulls his calendar across the desk, circles December 14th, 2024 in red pen. 5 weeks from today, he says. We file the sealed petition November 19th. Court reviews December 9th. Certified mail arrives December 13th. You show up December 14th before Dashiell meets Paloma's parents to sign land sale papers. He sets down the pen, looks at me directly. This is the only shot you get, he says. Once he knows you're coming, he'll hide everything he can. Are you certain about this date? I think about 5 weeks, 38 days. I've waited 10 years. I'm certain. The date is circled. December 14th, 5 weeks away. But before I can execute a plan, I need to know exactly what weapon Tobias left me. The vault room at First National Bank has yellow fluorescent lighting that makes everyone look sick, and the metal safe deposit box 0731 is cold enough that when I turn the brass key Norma gave me, my fingers go numb for a second, and Conrad Bailey, standing beside me, says nothing, because we both know this is the moment. 10 years of waiting becomes evidence I can actually use. Linda Rutherford, the bank vault attendant who escorted us here, closes the door behind her with professional discretion. Conrad explained this is a sensitive estate matter requiring privacy. She did not ask questions. I insert the brass key. Conrad inserts the bank's master key. The lock turns. The box slides open. Inside, heavy cream paper folded once. I lift it out carefully. Unfold it. The original codicil. Not a photocopy like the version in the cedar box. The actual document Tobias signed on March 17th, 2014. The blue notary seal is embossed raised official. The signatures are clear, Tobias's shaky hand, Conrad's steady one, Norma's careful cursive. The original, Conrad says, this is the version that matters in court. Beneath the codicil, a USB drive in a sealed plastic bag. The label is in Tobias's handwriting, blue ink, all capitals, play this first TG. And underneath a handwritten note folded into quarters. I open it. The date, March 16th, 2014, one day before he signed the codicil. Margaret, if Conrad is showing you this, I was right to worry. I'm sorry. The recording will explain everything. I love you, T. I read it twice. Then I fold it carefully and put it in my coat pocket. He apologized, I say. My voice is tight. Tobias apologized for being right about our son. He knew how much this would cost you to discover, Conrad says gently. I pick up the USB drive. Conrad pulls his laptop from his briefcase, sets it on the narrow counter beside the open, safe deposit box. He inserts the drive. One file appears, Goodwin_evidence_2015.mp3. He clicks play, static. Then a voice I do not recognize, male, older, formal. This is Gregory Howard, Connecticut Bar number 47392, recording this statement for Conrad Bailey regarding the Goodwin estate matter. Today is June 18, 2015. 1 year after Tobias died, in July 2014, Dashiell Goodwin contacted me. He paid me $15,000 cash to ignore irregularities in his small estate affidavit filing. I certified documents I knew contained forged signatures. I filed paperwork I knew was fraudulent. I am making this confession because the voice breaks, because Tobias Goodwin was my friend, and I can't live with what I did. Silence on the recording. Then Gregory continues. I'm including a phone conversation I recorded without Dashiell's knowledge in July 2014, the day he hired me. Connecticut is a one-party consent state. This recording is legal. Another click. Different audio quality. Phone call. A younger voice. Casual. Confident. My son's voice from 10 years ago before I knew what he was capable of. My mother knows nothing about law, Dashiell says. She spent 30 years doing accounting, not reading probate statutes. She will never check the county records. She doesn't even know there are county records. He laughs. You file it, I pay you, she never knows. Easy money. The recording ends. The vault is silent. My hands are on the counter. Conrad is watching my face. Gregory confessed to you in 2015, I say. 1 year after Tobias died. Tobias set up the arrangement before he died. Conrad says. He told Gregory that if Dashiell ever approached him about the estate, Gregory should record everything and bring it to me. Gregory's conscience caught up to him a year later. Where is Gregory now? He died in 2018, Conrad says. Hit and run. This recording is from 2015. Dead men can still testify if their confessions were recorded while they lived. $15,000, I say. That's what my house cost Gregory's ethics. I look at Conrad. Play it again. He restarts the file. I close my eyes. Listen to Gregory's confession. Then to Dashiell's voice. She will never check. That sentence, that contempt, preserved in a digital audio file, time-stamped, authenticated by a lawyer's confession. Not memory, not interpretation. My son's actual voice proving he committed fraud with full knowledge that I was too trusting, too ignorant, too easy to deceive. If you have ever heard someone you raised say they were certain you were too stupid to discover their crime, you know why I asked to hear that recording twice, once to believe it, twice to remember why I'm doing this. The recording ends again. That's not anger in his voice, I say. It's certainty. He was certain I was too stupid to find out. Conrad ejects the USB drive, holds it carefully. This is admissible in court, he says. Gregory's confession establishes the chain of custody. The phone recording is legal under Connecticut law, and it's your son's voice which can be authenticated. I take the USB drive from him, copy it to my phone, your laptop, cloud storage, USB backup, 6 copies total. Conrad nods, begins the transfers immediately. I pick up the original codicil, fold it back carefully, place it in my purse alongside Sybil's manila folder and Norma's cedar box key. I pick up Tobias's note, read it one more time. I'm sorry. He was sorry for being right. I fold the note, put it back in my pocket. Conrad finishes copying the recording, hands me a USB drive labeled Backup 1 of 6. You already chose December 14th, he says, the land sale dinner. That's the day he'll be most confident, most distracted, most certain he's safe. I close the safe deposit box, lock it with both keys. The metal clicks into place. He said I would never check. I say, I checked. Now I need to prove my son was wrong about me. Conrad puts the laptop back in his briefcase. December 14th, 5 weeks. We file the sealed petition November 19th. You don't change anything about your routine until then. You stay invisible. I've been invisible for 6 years, I say. I can manage 5 more weeks. 5 weeks of invisible waiting. That was the plan. I maintain my routine storage room spreadsheet at night, Thursday dinners with Thalia. Conrad files the sealed petition November 19th. I do not attend. I stay invisible. On December 5th, 2024, 9 days before the confrontation I have been preparing for since October, I find a small gift box at my storage room door wrapped in gold paper with a card taped to the top that says, in Dashiell's handwriting, "For Mom, early Christmas. Your mother's necklace kept safe for you." I bring the box inside, set it on my desk under the yellow lamp. The card continues on the inside. "I know you've been through a lot. Thought you should have this now. Love, D." I open the box slowly. Inside, on white satin, a necklace. 14-karat gold chain with a small pendant looks antique. I recognize it, or I think I do. Norma wore this in 1990s family photos. I remember it at Dashiell's high school graduation catching the light when she leaned down to hug him. My heart catches for 1 second, thinking Dashiell remembered, thinking he chose something meaningful, thinking maybe after everything there is still some part of my son who knows what matters. Then my accounting instinct kicks in. If this is a real heirloom worth $800, why give it now December 5th? Random Thursday. No occasion. 9 days before Christmas. I pick up the necklace, hold it under the lamp. Something is off about the weight. I open my desk drawer, pull out my accounting magnifying glass, the one I used for checking fine print on contracts for 30 years at Mercer & Klein. 10 times magnification professional grade cost me $42 in 1987 and never let me down. I examine the clasp. The engraving reads 14-karat GF, not 14-karat, not 14-karat gold, 14-karat gold-filled. Gold-filled, not solid gold. Market value $35 retail, maybe $50 with sentimental markup if you are generous. The real version, the one Norma actually owned, the one she wore to Dashiell's graduation, the one I remember from photographs that was solid 14-karat gold, estimated value $800. Zibble mentioned in November that Dashiell sold jewelry from Norma's estate in 2023. She had documentation receipts from a Hartford pawn shop. Paloma's credit cards were overdue. The jewelry covered them. This is a replacement, a $35 fake given as your mother's necklace kept safe. Kept safe meant sold. Kept safe meant bought a cheap knockoff to cover the lie. I set down the magnifying glass. Look at the necklace under the lamp. Look at the card. Kept safe for you. That word, safe. Before I tell you what I did with that fake necklace, are you still with me? Comment A if you think I should confront him about it now, or B if you think I should document it and wait and add one short reason so I can see how you're reading this. A quick note: what comes next includes some recreated details for emotional depth and narrative clarity. The core truth is what matters. $35. He sold an $800 necklace and replaced it with $35 of guilt management. I set the necklace aside, open my laptop, open the spreadsheet file. Scroll to row 38. Property damage from November. The apple tree, the stone bench, the memorial garden. I create row 39. Date December 5th, 2024. Item fraudulent heirloom gift. Grandmother's necklace. Real value $800, sold 2023 per Sybil's pawn shop documentation. Replacement value $35 gold, filled not solid gold. Difference $765 theft disguised as gift. Evidence necklace plus card plus magnifying glass verification photos. I take 6 photographs. The necklace on white satin. Close-up of the engraving 14-karat GF. The card both sides Dashiell's handwriting clear. The gold gift box. The magnifying glass beside the necklace for scale. One more, the fake necklace next to a photo on my phone of Norma wearing the real one at Dashiell's graduation 1996. Side-by-side comparison. Real versus replacement. I save all 6 to the evidence_deck_2024 folder. Back up to cloud. I look at the fake necklace on my desk. Think about putting it on. Wearing it to the December 14th confrontation, walking into the dining room with it around my neck, letting Dashiell see me wearing his $35 lie. Silent accusation, visual proof. But no, too theatrical, too easy to dismiss as emotional gesture rather than documented fact. Evidence speaks louder than gestures. If you have ever received a gift that looked like love but turned out to be a receipt for theft, you know why I photographed it 6 times instead of throwing it away. I put the necklace back in the box, put the box in my desk drawer, close it. Return to the spreadsheet. Look at row 39. Look at all 39 rows. Every time Dashiell tries to placate me, he creates more evidence. The candle in the trash, evidence of being forgotten. The garden demolished, evidence of property destruction. The fake necklace with sentimental card, evidence of fraud disguised as generosity. He is building my case for me one gift at a time. I save the file, check the backup. Look at the clock, 5:23 p.m. The spreadsheet now has 39 rows. The evidence folder has 14 videos, 43 photos, 2 audio files. The fake necklace sits in its gold box in my desk drawer, photographed and cataloged. In 9 days, I will walk upstairs with this spreadsheet, Sybil's affidavits, Conrad's file, the audio recording of Dashiell saying, "My mother will never check," and proof that my son gave me a $35 fake while claiming it was my mother-in-law's $800 heirloom he kept safe. Every gift he gives me now just makes the case stronger. I close the laptop, turn off the lamp, sit in the dark storage room for 3 minutes. 9 days. December 14th. The land sale dinner. Paloma's parents. Dashiell celebrating selling 3 acres that legally belong to me. I will walk into that dining room with 10 years of evidence and a recording of my son's voice proving he thought I was too stupid to discover any of it. The fake necklace will stay in the drawer, but row 39 will be in the spreadsheet I print and lay on the table. 9 days. 9 days. That is all the time between the fake necklace and the confrontation. But those 9 days are not spent waiting. They are spent building. The lawsuit moved in silence. November 19th, 2:47 p.m. Conrad Bailey and I sit in Hartford Probate Court while a clerk reviews our petition. 127 pages. 39-row spreadsheet attachment. Affidavits from Norma Sybil. Gregory Howerin's confession recording. Property deeds. Bank statements, photographs of the demolished garden, the fake necklace, the forged signatures. Conrad speaks to the clerk, requesting seal pending service, flight risk and asset dissipation concerns. The clerk types something, waits. A judge's clerk approves the seal electronically. The petition will not appear in any public docket. My son will not receive any warning that a lawsuit exists until the certified mail arrives on his doorstep. Approved, the clerk says. Service date, December 14th, Conrad says, 9:15 a.m. The clerk stamps 3 copies. The sound echoes in the marble hallway, thud, thud, thud. Each stamp a nail in the coffin of my son's confidence that I will never check. She places the documents in a sealed envelope, manila 10 by 13 inches red, confidential stamp across the front. Case number PC-2024-1-847. 1 copy for the court file, 1 for Conrad, 1 for me. I place mine in my briefcase. Feel the weight of it. 127 pages of evidence that my son stole my retirement, my house, my dignity, and thought I was too stupid to discover it. We leave through the side entrance. Dashiell's engineering office is 4 blocks away. He has no idea that while he is reviewing blueprints, I am filing a lawsuit that will dismantle his life. My heartbeat is steady, not racing like it was on October 27th when I found the candle in the trash. This is different. This is control. November 25th, 10 a.m. Norma Goodwin sits in Conrad's office and reads the draft of her witness affidavit. 4 pages, single-spaced. Every detail of what she observed between 2014 and 2024. Between 2018 and 2024, I observed Dashiell Goodwin purchase new vehicles, renovate his kitchen with granite countertops, and custom cabinets take multiple international vacations, while his mother, Vera Goodwin, lived in a storage room with water-damaged walls and a space heater for warmth. She reads aloud. She pauses, looks at Conrad. That's exactly what happened. She signs, the notary stamps. Norma hugs me afterward. "You're doing this right," she whispers. December 2nd through 6th, Sybil Yates, forensic accountant, sits in her home office and cross-references my 39-row spreadsheet against Dashiell's bank records. She has subpoenaed them from Harborview Trust using her professional credentials and Conrad's court order. December 6th, she calls Conrad with her findings. 39 for 39, she says. I am on speakerphone. Every transaction Vera documented links directly back to Dashiell's accounts. The MBA tuition withdrawn from account 4711-A on September 12, 2017. The SUV down payment, same account December 3, 2019. The kitchen renovation, multiple withdrawals March through May 2020. This doesn't happen by accident. She files her affidavit. Conrad adds it to the case file. The petition is now 134 pages. We have enough to freeze his accounts Monday morning if the judge grants emergency relief, Conrad tells me. I nod. I do not need his accounts frozen. I just need him to know that I checked. December 13th, 6 p.m. I eat dinner in the storage room, soup and bread. My appetite is normal for the first time in weeks. 7:30 p.m. I lay out my black pantsuit on the chair. The same one I wore for fraud audits at Mercer and Klein. Wool blend. Crisp from the dry cleaners. I remember wearing it in 2016 when I exposed a CFO's embezzlement scheme and saved a client $340,000. This suit has witnessed 12 fraud cases. Tomorrow it will witness the 13th. I place my briefcase by the door. Inside copy of the sealed petition, Tobias's codicil, the USB drive with Gregory Howerin's confession, a photo of Tobias and me from 2014, 3 months before he died. 9:45 p.m. I go to bed. No melatonin, no Ambien, no television to drown out my thoughts, just the furnace humming and the sound of silence from upstairs, where Dashiell and Paloma have already gone to sleep, confident that tomorrow will be the same as every other day. I close my eyes. I sleep 8 hours straight. No waking at 2 a.m. No nightmares of Dashiell's face. No anxiety about what I am about to do. Just sleep. Deep. Uninterrupted. The first full night of rest I have had since Tobias died in October 2018. 6:30 a.m. December 14th. The alarm rings. I wake naturally, not jolted, not anxious, rested. I stand, walk to the mirror above the dresser, put on the black suit, button the jacket, smooth the lapels. I look at myself. Not victim Vera, who has lived in a storage room for 6 years. Not forgotten Vera, who washed dishes at parties she was not invited to. Not convenient Vera, who was called self-sufficient because it made her easier to ignore. Accountant Vera, the one who spent 30 years finding discrepancies in ledgers and tracking fraud through paper trails. The one who knows that numbers do not lie and evidence does not forget. I look like someone who has been preparing for this moment since October 27th, 2024, when I found a $200 candle in the trash and realized my son had stopped pretending I mattered. I look like someone who has a 134-page lawsuit, 6 witnesses, 39 rows of documented theft, and a recording of her son's voice saying, "My mother will never check." I look like someone who checked. "Good morning," I say to my reflection. I look like someone who was ready. I look ready. Now I need to be ready. 1:45 p.m., December 14th, 2024. I stand at the bottom of the basement stairs with Tobias's briefcase in my right hand and the cedar box in my left. Above me, I hear voices. Dashiell laughing at something Paloma said, the sound of silverware on plates. They are having lunch before the land sale meeting at 3 o'clock. They do not know I am coming. The first step creaked under my weight. 14 steps total. I used to take them 2 at a time when Tobias and I first moved in when I was 32, and could carry groceries and a toddler simultaneously. Now I take them 1 at a time, deliberately, measured. Step 2. My hand touches the banister. The wood is smooth polished. It smells like lemon. Paloma cleans these stairs every Thursday. My hands have not touched this banister in 6 years. Step 5. I can hear them more clearly now. Paloma is talking about the retirement home her parents want to build on the 3 acres. Mom says she wants a greenhouse, she is saying, for orchids. Step 8. Halfway up, I see daylight from the main floor. Natural light I have not seen from this angle since 2018. Step 10. A shadow appears at the top of the stairs. Thalia, 8 years old in a blue dress with white flowers. She is holding her stuffed rabbit, the one she has had since she was 3. She stares at me, does not speak, does not call for her parents. I keep climbing. Step 12. Thalia is still watching. I reach the landing, stand face to face with my granddaughter. "Grandma," she whispers. I nod. She steps aside, moves to the wall without being asked, lets me pass. Even she knows something has changed. The hallway is exactly as I remember it. Same cream paint, same photographs on the wall, Thalia's school pictures, in chronological order left to right. Dashiell and Paloma's wedding photo from 2012. A beach sunset from a vacation I do not remember being invited to. I walk past them, turn left. The dining room is 10 feet ahead. They do not hear me yet. The conversation continues. "And Dad wants a workshop in the back," Paloma says, "for woodworking. We can put that in the contract," Dashiell says. "Buyers can specify intended use." I step into the doorway. The dining room table is set for 2. Paloma sits on the left side, Dashiell on the right. Plates half finished. Wine glasses. The good china the set Tobias's mother gave us in 1986. Paloma sees me first. Her fork stops halfway to her mouth. Dashiell notices her expression. Turns. Sees me standing in the doorway in my black suit holding the briefcase and the cedar box. "Mom," he says. His face shifts from confusion to something else. Not quite alarm, not yet. "What are you—" I do not answer. I walk to the table. Paloma sets down her fork. "Vera, we're having lunch. Can this wait?" I do not look at her. I walk to the head of the table where Tobias used to sit, where the carving knife usually rests on Thanksgiving. That spot is empty today. I set down the briefcase. The leather makes a solid thud on the wood. Then I place the cedar box beside it. Dashiell's face changes. The confusion drains away. What replaces it is recognition. Then something that might be fear. He knows this box. "Where did you get that?" he asks. His voice is different now, tighter. "From the storage room," I say. "Where you put me." Paloma looks between us. "What is that?" Dashiell does not answer her. He is staring at the cedar box like it might explode. "Mom," he says carefully, "if this is about money, this is about $185,000. I say. My voice is calm, steady. The same voice I used at Mercer and Klein when I told clients their CFO was embezzling. "The retirement fund your father left me. The one you drained to zero while I lived in a storage room and washed dishes at parties I was not invited to." Paloma's mouth opens, closes. Dashiell's hands are flat on the table. I can explain. "You will," I say, "in Hartford Probate Court, case number PC-2024-1847. The sealed petition was filed November 19th. Certified mail was delivered to this address December 13th at 2:47 p.m. You have been served. The oak stairs smell like lemon polish. Paloma cleans them every Thursday. My hands have not touched that banister in 6 years. But I climbed those stairs today because my son thought I never would. He thought I would stay in the storage room forever, grateful for scraps too self-sufficient to complain. He was wrong. Thalia appears in the doorway, silent, watching, holding her rabbit. The last time I stood in this room, Tobias sat in that chair where Dashiell is sitting now. He carved the Thanksgiving turkey with hands that shook from the cancer he was hiding from me. He smiled anyway. He always smiled. Now the chair is occupied by our son. The son Tobias gave 10 years to prove himself. The son who failed every single day of those 10 years. The room is empty of Tobias, but I am here, and that is the difference. Dashiell stares at the cedar box on the table, his face drained of color. Paloma looks between him and the box, then at me. Her wine glass is forgotten. Her lunch is cooling. The room is silent except for the kitchen clock ticking. Tick, tick, tick. I reach for the briefcase, unlock the clasps. They click open loud in the silence. This, I say, is where you learn what happens when you assume your mother will never check. I snapped the briefcase latches open before Dashiell could stand. His chair scraped tile. Paloma's hand shot to his wrist, not restraining, just touching. He froze halfway up, caught between fleeing and staying, and sank back down. The leather briefcase exhaled as I lifted the lid. "Don't," he said. His voice cracked on the single syllable. I laid the codicil on the white tablecloth first. March 17th, 2014. The date faced him. Then the spreadsheet, 39 rows each one, a withdrawal I'd highlighted in yellow. Then Sybil's forensic analysis, the bar chart showing $185,000 in red. Then the bank statements fanned like a poker hand. Then the photographs, the kitchen, the SUV, the MBA acceptance letter. Dashiell's face drained to the color of old soap. "This isn't..." He stopped. Started again. "You don't understand the context. I understand you forged my signature on a notary affidavit for $2, I said. I understand you paid a contractor $43,000 for a kitchen I never approved. I understand you bought yourself an SUV for $62,000 and told me it was a gift from Paloma's parents." Paloma pulled her hand back. "What?" "The Lexus," I said, meeting her eyes. "The one in your driveway. My money paid for it. Did you know?" She looked at Dashiell. He wouldn't look back. "I didn't," she whispered. "He said it was from my parents' estate when they..." She stopped. Her throat worked. "They're still alive." The entry twist Paloma hadn't known. All this time I'd assumed she was complicit and accomplice in the theft, but the shock on her face was too raw to be performance. Dashiell's hands flattened on the table. "Mom, if you'll just let me explain..." "There's more," I said. I pulled out the envelope Tobias had given me. The paper was cream-colored, expensive. My hands didn't shake as I unfolded the letter. Dashiell recognized his father's handwriting. I watched his face change. "This is from your father," I said. "He wrote it 6 weeks before he died. He never sent it, but he wanted you to have it." I cleared my throat. "Dashiell, the codicil gives you authority, not ownership. Your mother will trust you because she always has. Do not betray that. The money is hers. Every dollar. If you use it for yourself, you become the one thing I raised you, not to be a thief who steals from family." The silence felt thick enough to choke on. Dashiell's jaw worked. He didn't understand. He understood perfectly, I said. "He knew exactly who you might become, and he begged you not to." I folded the letter and set it on top of the codicil. "You did it anyway." Paloma pushed her chair back. The legs screamed against tile. I can't..." "Stay," I said, not a command, a request. "You should hear the rest." She stayed. Her hands gripped the table edge. I reached into my purse and pulled out my phone. Conrad had transferred the audio file yesterday. I pressed play and set the phone in the center of the table. Dashiell's voice tinny through the speaker. "Doesn't matter. Mom won't check the statements. She doesn't even know how to log into the account. As long as the bills get paid, she'll never notice." A second voice, male, unfamiliar. "And if she does..." Dashiell's laugh, sharp and bitter. "Then I'll tell her it was for household expenses, repairs, property taxes. She won't push back. She never does." I stopped the playback. Dashiell stared at the phone like it was a live grenade. "Where did you..." "That was a private conversation. At Gary Morrison's office," I said. "November 3rd, you thought the contractor stepped out for coffee. He didn't. He went to call his lawyer because what you were asking him to do was fraud." I picked up the phone. "He recorded it to protect himself. He gave it to my attorney last week." Paloma's face had gone white. "You said it was for her, for the house, for..." Her voice broke. "You looked me in the eye and said it was all for her." Dashiell reached for her. "I can explain..." "Don't touch me." He pulled back like she'd burned him. "Do you know what it feels like to watch your son realize he's lost everything? Not just the money, not just the house, but the respect of his wife, the moral authority over his daughter, the version of himself he'd built in his own mind, the good son, the dutiful caretaker, the man who sacrificed for his aging mother. I watched it crumble. Every lie, every justification, every story he'd told himself to make the theft feel noble. It all collapsed in the space between one breath and the next. I picked up the last document, The petition, case number PC-2024-1847. I filed this on November 19th, I said. It asks the court to remove you as my attorney-in-fact freeze all accounts you have access to and order full restitution of $185,000 plus interest and legal fees. I slid it across the table. Your father gave you power because he trusted you. You traded that trust for a kitchen and an SUV and an MBA you haven't even finished. Dashiell's hands shook as he picked up the petition. His eyes skimmed the first page, then the second. When he reached the third page, the itemized list of every withdrawal, every lie, every betrayed promise, his face crumpled. "I'm your son," he whispered. "I know," I said. "That's why this breaks my heart." I stood. My knees held. The dining room felt enormous, the ceiling impossibly high. Behind me, I heard Thalia's soft breathing in the hallway. She'd heard everything. "You were wrong," I said. Dashiell looked up. "About what?" "When you told Gary Morrison I'd never checked the statements. When you told yourself I was too old, too trusting, too broken by grief to notice." I picked up the briefcase. "You were wrong about all of it." I turned toward the door. Mom. I stopped but didn't turn back. "The hearing is June 4th. Conrad will send you the details." "What do you want me to say?" His voice cracked. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "I wanted you to say that 6 months ago," I said, "before I had to hire a lawyer to get the truth." I walked out. Behind me, the silence was absolute. Then faint and unmistakable Paloma's chair scraping back her footsteps, moving away, and the sound of Dashiell crying alone at a table covered in evidence of his own betrayal. Paloma spoke first. I was halfway to the hallway when her voice cut through the silence. "Mom, wait, please." I stopped, didn't turn. "We can fix this," she said. Her chair scraped back. Footsteps moved toward me. "A family meeting. We'll sit down, all of us, and work out how much you need. We can set up an account, monthly payments, whatever makes sense." I turned then. She stood 3 feet away, hands clasped like she was praying. Behind her, Dashiell sat frozen at the table, surrounded by evidence. "How much do you need?" Paloma asked. "To feel comfortable, to feel secure. We'll make it right." "This is not a negotiation," I said. Her face changed. Confusion flickered across it. "But if it's about money, we can—" "It's about theft," I said. "It's about 6 years in a storage room. It's about my son forging my signature and spending $185,000 of my money without asking." Paloma glanced back at Dashiell. He wouldn't meet her eyes. She turned back to me, and I saw it then, the moment she realized this wasn't a family dispute she could smooth over with compromises and payment plans. This was a crime, and her husband was the criminal. "There's more," I said. Dashiell's head snapped up. "Mom, I have Gregory Howerin's sworn deposition," I said. "The lawyer you paid $15,000 to forge my signature back in 2014. He confessed everything before he died, Dashiell. The recording is already with the state prosecutor. He specifically remembered you laughing at a restaurant on Farmington Avenue, saying something about treating yourself because it was all coming from Mom's allowance anyway." The color drained from Dashiell's face. "Gregory, you talked to Gregory." "Conrad did," I said. "Gregory was happy to help once he understood what you'd done. He said he always wondered why you stopped returning his calls after your father died." Paloma turned to Dashiell. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Who else knows?" Dashiell didn't answer. His hands were shaking. "Your contractor knows," I said. "The notary knows. Your former business partner knows. The forensic accountant knows. My attorney knows. The court will know." I met Paloma's eyes. "Everyone will know." She sank into the nearest chair. Her hands covered her mouth. Dashiell stood. The movement was sudden, desperate. "I treated you well. You had everything you needed, food, heat, a place to sleep. I made sure you were comfortable." "A storage room is not a place to live," I said. His jaw clenched. "You never complained. You seemed fine with it. You never asked for anything different." I stared at him. At my son. At the man who'd convinced himself that survival equaled care. That providing the bare minimum meant he'd been generous. "I shouldn't have had to ask," I said. He thought providing survival meant he'd provided care. He thought I should be grateful for a basement and soup. He thought silence meant consent, that grief meant permission, that a mother's trust was something he could trade for granite countertops and leather seats. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out. Conrad's name lit the screen. FaceTime. I answered and turned the phone so the screen faced the table. Conrad's face appeared his office visible behind him. "Mrs. Goodwin," he said. His voice was formal, measured. "I wanted to update you on the timeline." "I'm listening," I said. Dashiell and Paloma stared at the phone. "The petition was filed November 19th under seal," Conrad said. "Certified mail will arrive at your address tomorrow, December 15th at approximately 10 a.m. It will include the full court schedule, witness list, and discovery requests." Dashiell's mouth opened. "You already filed. When did you—" Conrad continued as if Dashiell hadn't spoken. "The preliminary hearing is scheduled for January 9th. Full trial is set for June 4th, pending any motions for delay. I've submitted the forensic analysis, the audio recordings, and 12 witness statements to the court." 12, Paloma whispered. "Thank you, Conrad," I said. "Mrs. Goodwin, I'll see you at the courthouse." He paused. "Good evening." The screen went dark. The dining room felt like a vacuum. No one moved. No one spoke. Dashiell stared at the space where Conrad's face had been. Paloma's hands gripped the edge of the table so hard her knuckles went white. I picked up my briefcase. The latches clicked shut. The sound was clean, final. "Mom," Dashiell said, his voice cracked. "Please, we can—" I walked out. The hallway stretched ahead of me. Thalia stood at the base of the stairs, her back pressed against the wall. Her eyes were wide, dark, watching. She'd heard everything, every word, every truth. I stopped at the storage room door. The wood was scarred where I'd accidentally hit it with the folding chair last spring. The knob was loose. Dashiell had promised to fix it 2 years ago and never had. I'd stopped asking. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the key. The one Dashiell kept on the hook by the kitchen. The one that locked from the outside only. For 6 years, I'd been on the inside when this door closed. I slid the key into the lock. The metal turned smoothly. The click echoed in the hallway, sharp, clear, unmistakable. My hand didn't shake. The key slipped into my pocket, warm against my palm. Thalia watched from the stairs. She didn't say anything. Didn't move. I looked at the locked door. At the storage room that had been my bedroom, my prison. My punishment for surviving my husband. First time in 6 years, I didn't have to be inside it. Behind me in the dining room, I heard Paloma's voice, low, furious, breaking. Dashiell didn't answer. The house felt different, smaller, like the walls had shifted and nothing would fit the same way again. Thalia's eyes met mine across the hallway. She was 8 years old enough to understand theft, old enough to understand lies, old enough to know her father had stolen from her grandmother and locked her in a basement. I nodded to her. She nodded back. Tomorrow, certified mail would arrive at 10 a.m. Dashiell would open it on the front porch, probably still in his pajamas. He'd see the court seal, the case number, the list of witnesses who'd agreed to testify. But tonight I stood in the hallway of my own house with the storage room locked behind me, and my briefcase in my hand and my son's world crumbling in the next room. I'd spent 6 years as a prisoner in my own home. Now the door was locked, and I was on the outside. The hotel bed was soft. I'd forgotten what that felt like, a mattress that didn't sag in the middle, pillows that didn't smell like mildew, sheets that weren't brittle from years of basement damp. The Hartford hotel room was small, clean, anonymous. Perfect. Thalia slept in the other bed. She'd climbed into my car without asking permission, backpack slung over one shoulder face, set in a way that reminded me of Tobias when he'd made up his mind about something. "Can I stay with you tonight?" she'd asked. "Does your father know you're here?" I'd said. "He knows." She hadn't spoken during the 40-minute drive, just stared out the window, hands folded in her lap. When we reached the hotel, she brushed her teeth, changed into pajamas from her backpack, and climbed into bed. She was asleep in minutes. I lay awake until 2 a.m., staring at the ceiling, listening to her breathe. An 8-year-old child had seen the truth and chosen me. Not her father, not her mother. Her grandmother, who'd lived in a storage room for 6 years. I slept 8 hours. The first peaceful night I'd had since 2018. My phone rang at 7:30 a.m. Dashiell's name lit the screen. I answered, didn't speak. Mom! His voice was raw, like he'd been crying. Please, we can work this out. I'll pay you back monthly installments, whatever you want. Just drop the lawsuit. We can fix this as a family. Thalia stirred in the other bed but didn't wake. Our family was destroyed in 2014, I said. Yesterday, I only named it. Mom, wait. I hung up. The certified mail would arrive at 12 Maple Lane in 2.5 hours. Dashiell would open it on the front porch. He'd see the case number the court seal the witness list that included his former business partner, his contractor, his notary, and the forensic accountant who'd traced every dollar he'd stolen. Thalia and I had breakfast in the hotel restaurant, scrambled eggs, toast, orange juice. She ate slowly, methodically, the way I did. When we finished, she looked at me across the table. Are you going back? She asked. Not for a while, I said. Good, she said. The next 6 months moved like water, slow and inevitable. Conrad filed motions. Dashiell's attorney requested continuances. The judge denied them. Depositions happened in sterile conference rooms with fluorescent lights and court reporters whose fingers never stopped moving. I stayed with Norma, slept in her guest room, helped her weed the garden, returned to 12 Maple Lane exactly once in March to pack my belongings from the storage room. Dashiell wasn't home. Paloma watched from the kitchen doorway but didn't speak. Conrad called in February. His attorney requested another continuance. Denied. Norma noticed in April. You seem different, she said. Lighter. I sleep through the night now, I said. 6 months feels long when you're waiting. It feels short when you've already waited 6 years. June 12, 2025. Hartford Probate Court. Courtroom C. The room smelled like old wood and floor polish. The walls were paneled in dark oak. The judge's bench sat elevated, imposing. I sat beside Conrad at the petitioner's table. Dashiell and Paloma sat across the aisle with their attorney, a young woman in a navy suit, who looked tired. Judge Miller entered at 2:15 p.m. She was in her mid-50s, gray hair pulled back in a tight bun, reading glasses perched on her nose. She'd presided over the Goodwin versus Goodwin conservatorship case for 6 months, reviewed every document heard, every witness studied, every bank statement. We sat. I've reviewed the evidence submitted by both parties, Judge Miller said. Her voice was measured precise. The codicil executed March 17, 2014 is valid. The language is clear. Dashiell Goodwin was granted power of attorney for the limited purpose of managing day-to-day household expenses. The intent was explicit: protect Mrs. Goodwin during her period of grief, not transfer ownership or control. Dashiell stared at the table. Paloma's jaw was tight. Judge Miller continued. The evidence shows systematic misuse of authority. Between 2018 and 2024, the respondent withdrew funds for personal expenses unrelated to the petitioner's care. The forensic analysis is thorough and credible. She looked up from her notes. Her eyes met mine briefly, then moved to Dashiell. Property located at 12 Maple Lane, Hartford, Connecticut, is hereby returned to the sole ownership of Vera Goodwin. The respondent is ordered to pay restitution in the amount of $47,000, representing remaining liquid assets accessible at this time within 120 days. The respondent and his family have 90 days to vacate the premises. Conrad's hand rested on my shoulder. His grip was firm, steady. Judge Miller closed the file. This court is adjourned. The gavel struck once. The sound echoed. Dashiell stood. He didn't look at me. Paloma followed him out her heels, clicking against the marble floor. Their attorney gathered papers, stuffed them into a briefcase, left. I sat until the courtroom emptied. It's over, Conrad said quietly. Not yet, I said. 90 days. We walked into the hallway. Sunlight streamed through tall windows. Conrad carried his briefcase in one hand, a manila folder in the other. There's something you should know, he said. He opened the folder, pulled out the spreadsheet, the one Sybil had highlighted in yellow. Rows 8 through 14, 7 withdrawals between September 2016 and May 2018, total $68,000. I knew those rows. I'd memorized them months ago. UConn's MBA program tuition for 2016 through 2018, Conrad said. The payment schedule matches exactly. Paloma's degree. The hallway felt very quiet. Somewhere down the corridor, a door closed. Footsteps echoed and faded. She used my retirement to build her career, I said. Yes, Conrad said, and now she knows it. I stood in the courthouse hallway with sunlight warming my face and the verdict memorized in my mind. Every word, every dollar amount, every deadline. Judge Miller had spoken for 11 minutes. I'd counted. $47,000 restitution, 90 days to vacate, 120 days to pay. 38 years as an accountant taught me one thing: numbers don't lie. Neither do judges. In 3 weeks, I would return to 12 Maple Lane, not as a guest, not as a burden, not as the woman who lived in the storage room, as the owner. The moving truck arrived at 6:47 a.m. I watched from the front steps, coffee cup warm in my hands. September morning, cool enough for a sweater. The sun was just clearing the neighbor's roof, casting long shadows across the driveway. 3 weeks had passed since the courthouse, 90 days exactly since the verdict. The movers were efficient professional. 2 men in matching gray shirts carried furniture down the walkway, loaded it into the U-Haul with practiced precision. Sofa, kitchen table, bedroom dresser. The granite island Dashiell had installed for $43,000 didn't move. It was bolted to the floor part of the house now. One of the movers glanced at me, then away. "Ma'am, we'll be done in 2 hours." "Take your time," I said. I had nowhere else to be. Dashiell appeared in the doorway carrying a cardboard box. He wore jeans and an old t-shirt, both wrinkled like he'd slept in them. His face looked older than it had in June. Hollow. The kind of tired that comes from months of knowing you've lost everything that mattered. He walked down the front path toward the truck. His steps slowed as he passed me. He stopped. 2 seconds, maybe 3. He looked at me. I looked back. His mouth opened slightly like he was going to say something, then closed. His eyes were red-rimmed, exhausted. I saw my son in there somewhere, the boy who'd cried when his goldfish died, the teenager who'd called me from college homesick, the young man who'd held his father's hand in the hospice room. But I also saw the man who'd forged my signature for $2, who'd spent 6 years stealing from me while I lived in a basement, who'd thought providing survival meant he'd provided care. There was nothing left to say. He looked away first, continued to the truck loaded, the box, walked back to the house without glancing at the steps. The truck engine rumbled. Furniture scraped against the metal ramp. Boxes thudded into place. Car doors opened and closed with hollow sounds. Then silence between trips, just birds in the maple tree and distant traffic. Paloma appeared at 9:15 a.m. She carried a laptop bag over one shoulder, a file box in her arms. She wore business clothes, navy blazer, pressed slacks heels that clicked against the walkway. Her MBA degree had landed her a job at an insurance company, the degree my retirement fund had paid for. She walked past me to her car, loaded the box into the trunk, returned to the house. 4 trips total. Laptop bag, file boxes, a garment bag. Thalia's stuffed bear, the one she'd had since she was 2. Paloma walked past me 4 times. She never looked at me once. Not a glance. Not a flicker of acknowledgement. She kept her eyes forward, her jaw tight, her shoulders rigid. Shame has a particular posture. I recognized it. I'd seen it in mirrors for 6 years back when I thought my grief was something I should apologize for. The car started. Paloma sat in the driver's seat, hands on the wheel, staring straight ahead. Thalia appeared in the back seat, her face pressed against the window. She raised one small hand and waved. "Bye, Grandma," she called through the glass. "Goodbye, Thalia," I said. The car backed out of the driveway. Paloma still didn't look. The truck left at 10:30 a.m. Dashiell followed in his SUV, the one I'd paid for the one he'd claimed was a gift. The moving company would meet them at their new apartment across town. Smaller, 2 bedrooms instead of 4, no granite countertops. I stood in the driveway until the sounds faded. Then I walked up the front steps through the door into the house. My house. The rooms felt larger without their furniture. The living room echoed when I walked across it. The dining room where I'd laid out the evidence was empty except for dust patterns on the hardwood showing where the table had stood. I climbed the stairs. I hadn't been upstairs since December 14th. 9 months. The hallway looked the same cream walls family photos I'd framed in the 90s, the loose floorboard near the bathroom that Tobias had never fixed. The master bedroom door was closed. Last time I'd opened this door, Tobias was dying. October 2018. Hospice bed in the center of the room, monitors, beeping morphine drip his hand cold in mine. He'd asked me to open the window, let the air in. He died 3 hours later with autumn leaves blowing through the screen. I turned the knob. The room was empty now. Bed gone. Dresser gone. Paloma's perfume lingered, something floral and expensive, but it was fading. The carpet showed indentations where furniture had stood. The closet door hung open, bare hangers dangling. I walked to the window, pushed it open. September breeze poured in cool and clean, carrying the scent of cut grass and late roses from the neighbor's yard. The perfume smell thinned, faded, cleared. Both ghosts were leaving. Tobias's death, Paloma's occupation. The room was just a room again. "I'm home," I said to the empty space. That evening, I carried a cardboard box upstairs, the one I'd packed from the storage room in March. I set it on the floor, pulled the tape loose, opened the flaps. Wedding photo, 1985, courthouse steps, Hartford. I wore a cream dress I'd sewn myself. Tobias wore a suit borrowed from his brother. We were 26 years old, too young to know how hard marriage would be, old enough to know we wanted to try. I placed the frame on the bedside table, same spot it had occupied from 1985 to 2018. 33 years in this room, 6 years in exile, now returning. I made up the bed with new sheets, white cotton soft clean, climbed under the covers at 9 p.m. The ceiling was pale blue. I'd forgotten that. Tobias had painted it in 1992. We'd lived in the house 7 years by then, and the original ceiling had yellowed from age. He spent a Saturday afternoon on a ladder with a roller covering the old paint in something he called sky blue. "What do you think?" he'd asked, climbing down, surveying his work. "Too bright." "It's perfect," I'd said. I lay in my bed in my bedroom in my house, looking at the pale blue ceiling my husband had painted 33 years ago. He'd been 41 then, strong, healthy, alive. He'd been gone 7 years. I'd been a prisoner for 6 of them. Now I was home. The ceiling was still perfect. The balcony steps needed 3 new boards. I knelt in the backyard with my tape measure pencil behind my ear, October morning cool against my face. 1 year ago today, I'd found a birthday candle in the trash. 1 year ago, my life was the storage room and soup and silence. Today I was replacing rotted wood on the back balcony. Tobias had started this project in March 2014. He'd bought the lumber receipt still in his workshop drawer, $47.83 Hartford lumber, and built the first 4 steps before the tremor in his left hand made him drop the hammer. He never picked it up again. The cancer took him before he could finish. 11 years later, I was finishing it for him. The wood was weathered but good. I marked the cuts with careful lines the way he'd taught me when we renovated the kitchen in 1989. Before the granite island. Before Dashiell decided $43,000 was an acceptable price to pay with someone else's money. I carried the boards to the balcony and laid them across the frame Tobias had built. His handwriting was still visible on one support beam, penciled measurements faded but legible. His T's had little flourishes at the top. I'd forgotten that. "Grandma." Thalia stood at the back gate backpack over one shoulder bike helmet dangling from her hand. 9 years old now, taller, hair pulled back in a braid. She came every Saturday. Not because Dashiell dropped her off, he didn't. Not because Paloma arranged it, she wouldn't. Thalia rode her bike 3 miles from the apartment where her parents lived, now locked it to the fence, let herself in through the back gate, and stayed until Sunday evening. She'd been doing it since October, every week. A 9-year-old child who'd chosen her grandmother over the people who'd taught her to lie. "Need help?" she asked. "Can you hold the nails?" She dropped her backpack and knelt beside me. I showed her which nails to use, how to hand them to me, point first so I could grab them without looking. She learned fast. Tobias would have liked that. I hammered the first board into place. The sound echoed across the yard, sharp, clean, final. Thalia handed me the next nail before I asked. "Did Grandpa Tobias build this?" she asked. "He started it," I said. "We're finishing it." She watched me work. After the second board, she asked if she could hammer one. I let her. She missed twice, bent the nail on the third try, got it straight on the fourth. Her face lit up when the board sat flush against the frame. "Good," I said. "Can I do another? All of them if you want." We worked until noon. 3 new boards sanded smooth, fitted tight. Tobias had built 4 steps before the illness stopped him. Now there were 7. Enough to reach the balcony safely. Enough to finish what he'd started. Thalia ran her hand over the wood. "It's smooth." "That's the point," I said. Afternoon sun warmed the backyard. We planted the apple tree at 2 p.m. The spot was empty, had been empty since 2019 when the contractor removed the old tree to make room for construction equipment during the kitchen renovation. Gary Morrison had apologized when he cut it down, said Dashiell insisted. The tree had been 30 years old. It produced apples every September tart and small perfect for pie. This tree was young. 4 feet tall, thin trunk branches barely thicker than my thumb. Not the same tree, but the same place. Thalia dug the hole while I held the sapling. The roots spread carefully in the dark soil. She filled the hole back in, packed the dirt, watered it with the green hose Tobias had bought in 1987. "Will it grow apples soon?" she asked. 3 years? I said. "Maybe 4. I'll be 12 then." She calculated on her fingers, shielding her eyes from the sun. "That's plenty of time." "No," I said. "That's not old." 4 p.m. We went inside. The house was warm, clean mine. I'd repaired the kitchen cabinets Dashiell had damaged during installation, replaced the living room curtains that had yellowed in 6 years of neglect, scrubbed the floors until they shone. The storage room was empty now, just boxes and Christmas decorations and the folding chair I'd sat in for 72 months. I walked down to the basement one more time. Thalia followed. My accounting diploma hung on the far wall frame, crooked glass, cracked in one corner. I'd earned it in 1983. Hung it in the living room that same year Tobias drove the nail himself, made sure it was level. I was 28 years old. 42 years later, it had spent 6 years in a basement. I lifted it off the nail. The frame smelled like damp and mold and darkness. "Why was it in the basement?" Thalia asked. "Because I forgot I earned it," I said. "It looks sad," she said. We carried it upstairs together. She held the bottom, I held the top. The frame was heavier than I remembered. The living room had good light. South-facing windows, afternoon sun walls painted cream, like they'd been in 1985. The wedding photo hung beside the bookshelf, same frame, same courthouse steps, same young couple who didn't know what was coming. I found the nail. The original one still in the wall where Tobias had hammered it 42 years ago. The diploma slid onto it perfectly glass, catching the light. Thalia stepped back, looked at both frames' wedding photo on the left, diploma on the right. "Are they straight?" she asked. I stood beside her, looked at the wall, at the 2 frames side by side, at the evidence of a life lived in public instead of hidden in a basement. "This wall is better," I said. Thalia turned to look at me, then smiled. Not the careful smile she'd worn in December when her father's world was falling apart. Not the quiet smile she'd given me in the hotel room when she chose to leave with me instead of staying. A real smile, open, unguarded. The kind 9-year-olds are supposed to give. "Way better," she said. We stood in the living room as October lights slanted through the windows. 2 frames on the wall. A diploma that proved I'd earned something. A wedding photo that proved I'd loved someone. Both visible now, both mine. In 2 months it would be Christmas. I would set the dining table for 3. Norma would bring pie. Thalia would help me cook. But today we stood in the living room of a house I'd reclaimed, looking at a wall that finally told the truth. I set the table for 4. Christmas Eve 2025. The dining room smelled like pine from the wreath on the wall, the same wall where I'd once laid out 39 rows of theft. The same table. White tablecloth. Today I laid silverware instead of spreadsheets. 4 plates. 4 wine glasses. Cloth napkins folded the way my mother taught me in 1972. Candles in the center, not birthday candles that hide in trash. Real tapers, white unlit yet. 1 year ago, I stood at this table and said, "You were wrong." Tonight I would say grace. Sybil Yates arrived first at 5 p.m., carrying an apple pie steam rising through the lattice crust. My forensic neighbor, 55 years old, came in with those same sharp, observing eyes that had helped save my life. "Smells like 1987 in here," she said. "Remember when Tobias burned the turkey and I had to bring over half my dinner?" "I remember you bringing an entire spare pie that year," I said. "Insurance," she said, smiling. Thalia came next, cheeks red from cold, carrying a paper star covered in glitter with my name written across the center. "For your tree," she said. We hung it on the lowest branch where window light would catch it. Conrad arrived last 6 p.m., exactly carrying wine and wearing a sweater instead of his usual suit. He stood in the doorway like he wasn't sure if he should knock. "Merry Christmas, Mrs. Goodwin," he said, still formal after 2 years. But he was here, in my dining room, at my table, an attorney who'd become something more, not family by blood, but family by choice. "Come in, Conrad," I said. "You're late." "Traffic," he said, smiling. We gathered around the table. Sybil sat in the chair opposite me, Thalia to my right and Conrad to my left. 4 people who'd chosen to be here. The roast was perfect. Vegetables from the garden I'd replanted in spring. Rolls I'd made that morning. We ate slowly, talking about small things. Thalia's school play, Sybil's new audit project, Conrad's next case, December 14th, 2024. I laid documents on this table and watched my son realize he'd lost everything. Tonight, I passed the salt to people who'd helped me find it again. Sybil set her wine glass down carefully. "Tobias would love this. See you here, at this table ruling your own home again. He made it possible," I said. Conrad raised his glass. "Your husband wrote something in that letter, the one from the cedar box. He said, 'I hope she never needs that box.' But you did need it." Thalia looked between us. "What box?" "A box your great-grandfather made," I said. "He filled it with things he hoped I'd never need. But when I needed them, they were there." "What was in it?" she asked. I considered the question. A codicil, a letter, a warning, a weapon. "Truth," I said. Conrad raised his glass higher. "To Tobias, for knowing what to leave behind." We touched glasses. The sound was clear, bright, final. They left at 8 p.m. Norma with empty pie tin, Conrad with thanks Thalia, with promises to return Saturday. I stood on the porch and waved as taillights disappeared down Maple Lane. December air was cold against my face. I wrapped my cardigan tighter, coffee cup warming my hands. Across the yard, the young apple tree stood bare against twilight. 3 years until it would fruit. I'd be here to see it. Through the front window, I could see the living room. The diploma and wedding photo hung side by side on the lit wall. The mantel held the cedar box, small, wooden, empty. I thought about independence. How my whole life people called me independent like it was a compliment. Like being able to survive alone was an achievement instead of a necessity. Like not asking for help was strength instead of isolation. Being called independent was never a compliment. It was permission to give me less. And I'd accepted that permission for 70 years. Accepted the storage room. Accepted the soup. Accepted the silence. Until I stopped. I didn't shout. I didn't rage. I found a candle in the trash. I asked one question. I followed one thread. I built a case with the same careful attention I'd used for 38 years of accounting. Quiet persistence, not loud confrontation. The porch boards creaked. Coffee warm in my hands. Winter air cold on my face. Inside the cedar box sat empty on the mantel. I went back inside, closed the door, locked it not out of fear but out of ownership. My house, my locks, my keys. The cedar box waited on the mantel. Tobias had carved it in 1974, the year we bought this house. He'd filled it in 2014 after the codicil, after the diagnosis, after he knew what was coming but hoped I'd never face it. I'd opened it in 2024, 10 years later, a decade of silence between his gift and my need. The box was empty now. The codicil was filed with the court. The letter archived with Conrad's records. The brass key sat in my jewelry drawer upstairs, no longer needed but kept anyway. 10 years it waited in the back of Tobias's closet. 60 days it fought in courtrooms and depositions. One verdict delivered justice. One moving truck took the thieves away. One diploma returned to a visible wall. I stood in my living room on Christmas Eve looking at a cedar box that had saved my life by preserving truth. Tobias couldn't protect me from what Dashiell would become, but he could make sure I wasn't helpless when I finally saw it. He'd given me a weapon disguised as a jewelry box, a key that unlocked more than wood and brass, a letter that spoke when he no longer could. I touched the lid. The wood was smooth, worn soft by 50 years. "Thank you," I whispered. The house was quiet, warm, mine. Outside, winter pressed against the windows. Inside, candles burned low on the dining table. The diploma hung visible on the wall. The apple tree waited in the yard for spring. And on the mantel, between the wedding photo and the clock, Tobias wound every Sunday for 33 years, sat the cedar box. Empty now, its work done, its purpose served. A cedar box, a brass key, 10 years got their answer. The house had always been mine. It had taken 6 years, one cedar box, and one granddaughter to remember it. If you made it this far, you already know this story was never just about a storage room or a cedar box or a spreadsheet. It was about what happens when someone decides your silence is the same as your consent. When the people you love most confuse your patience with permission and your quiet strength with not needing to be seen at all. Vera did not fight because she was angry. She fought because an 8-year-old girl taped a drawing to a moldy basement wall and said, "Grandma deserves a better wall than this." And in that single moment, she understood that some people are worth reclaiming absolutely everything for. Maybe you have never been moved into a storage room, but I want to ask you something. Honest, is there a room in your own life you have stopped entering? A boundary you stopped defending? Because fighting it felt harder than accepting it. A quieter, smaller version of yourself that you perform daily because someone once made it clear that the real you was simply too much. This is for you. You are not low maintenance. You are not someone who does not need much. You are not self-sufficient. You are someone who deserved better than what you accepted. If this story moved you, please share it. Not because I need the numbers, but because someone in your circle is sitting in their own storage room right now and they do not know their cedar box is already waiting. Drop a comment below. Tell me one thing you stopped fighting for that you wish you had not. I read every single one, and sometimes the right words from the right stranger are the door that finally opens. You have always deserved a better wall than this.